And tell me, what are you running for and why are you running for this race?
Yeah, I'm running for CD 21, so Congressional District 21, U.S. Congress. I'm running because I believe that the federal government is overregulating our lives, and I want to loosen that stranglehold of federal overreach that I believe is choking us in our businesses.
What are the top 3 initiatives you have for your campaign?
As far as major issues that are here in the district, I think water is first and foremost, and water comes in 2 different flavors. It comes in scarcity, especially west of I-35 on the Edwards Plateau, and so we need to be figuring out ways to solve the scarcity issues, but also, as we've seen in Kerrville, which is the dead center of this district, it can be devastating as well because of our monsoonal climate, and so we need to figure out ways that we can make sure that people are safe when those events happen, but also that we capture that water. That's going to be, in terms of safety, it's going to be geo-targeted text alerts, it's going to be improved low water crossings and real-time river gauges, and additional retaining lakes so that we can keep that water. And by keeping it, we'll also be redirecting some of the devastation that can come from it. As far as scarcity generally, I believe that the solution is pairing desalination with nuclear, both on the Gulf and in terms of accessing the brackish water layer that exists under our aquifer. So that's a major issue. The battery energy storage system projects that are going into place in this district, which are these large lithium-ion batteries that are the size of a football field. So you can imagine when those things go up in flames, it's not a cool YouTube video about somebody on an airplane. It's a major environmental disaster. And something that we need to make sure never happens in the Hill Country. But as it stands right now, there are not federal regulations on these types of projects, and I intend to make sure that we put in place common sense regulations that will keep communities safe. Implementing the NFPA 855 standard, requiring setbacks, requiring bonds to be in place for reclamation at the end of life of these projects, and contracts as well, so that the communities where these are going in don't get left holding the bag at the end of life. And also making sure that there are not Chinese controlled and connected parts in these that can allow these to be utilized as a bomb in the event of a Chinese attack on our infrastructure, or if they were to, say, attack Taiwan, for example. So those are some local issues. I would say affordability is the most major issue affecting all of us this election, and as a small market, small government conservative who believes in free market ideals, I believe that the intervention of the government is largely at play in terms of why we have this affordability crisis. So I would like to help remove the government from our lives in as many ways as possible. One of my stretch goals is getting rid of the income tax and moving this to a consumption tax model. I think that's going to end up saving us a lot of money in the long run.
Can you talk a little bit about how your campaign is set apart from those of your other candidates, really, especially one who is backed by President Trump and Governor Abbott?
Sure. I have been fighting government overreach my entire career. I am a criminal defense attorney, so as a constitutional attorney, I defend the First, Second, Fourth, Fifth, Sixth, and Eighth Amendments on a regular basis. And as a small government conservative, I think we've oftentimes seen there's the attack from the liberal side of the political spectrum that says, you guys believe in small government and then you don't do that thing. And when people go to Washington, regardless of who it is, we oftentimes see that take hold. All the things that they said when they were running go out the window, and they're for large government. And so I would say, yeah, I'm very different from a candidate who is connected to the swamp and endorsed by the swamp. There's this, if you've ever been playing on an app on your phone and you say, this app's really fun. Well, there's 2 options. You're either paying for that app, in terms of the App Store or Google Play, wherever it is, you're paying your own dollars for it, or you are the product yourself. And so the difference between me and Mark Teixeira, who you're talking about, is that one of 2 things is the case. Mark Teixeira has paid for all these endorsements, and that's why he's endorsed by all of these people, and I think that's really the case, even if he won't come out and say that. Or he is the product. He is beholden to all of those politicians, be it Donald Trump, be it Greg Abbott, be it Jim Jordan or Steve Scalise, or the whole cavalcade of congressmen that have endorsed him. And who is going to pay that price? Well, not him. Ultimately, the residents and citizens of District 21. We're going to pay the price because he owes favors to everyone. I've been involved. I'm not an outsider in that sense. I've voted in Republican primaries, for example. I've ran for district attorney of Travis County. I've been a delegate to the state convention. I actually worked on Greg Abbott's campaign back in the day when I was in law school at UT Law. So I have been involved, but I'm not captured by those interests. I'm a proven problem solver in every field that I've been in. I'm an organic chemist trained at the University of Chicago before I was a trial attorney, and I've had my own successful law firm in Austin where I practice. For 15 years, I've been practicing criminal defense. And so I've been a problem solver in all these difficult environments, oftentimes with not a lot of cards to play. I intend to be a strong negotiator on behalf of this district, not a compromiser, but a negotiator.
Can you talk about those big ticket items like healthcare, taxes, education, immigration, where you stand on them?
Sure. Big question. Tough to encapsulate it all at once. So let's talk about healthcare. Republicans need to make sure that we have a solution. We need to be the adults in the room. We can't just allow Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, whatever you want to call it, to collapse under its own weight, which is what's happening right now. Having to subsidize it is evidence that it is not in fact affordable, but it's unaffordable. So what do I think the solution is? I've been endorsed by Senator Rick Santorum, who was the original proposer of medical savings accounts, and I've been working with him to figure out what the best plan is. I believe that medical savings accounts or health savings accounts, whatever we want to call them this go around, and for low-income voters that will be seeded with money that would be otherwise used for subsidies. And then we will allow all these individual actors to participate in the free market, to find their own healthcare services, and to allow that money to grow tax-free in the meantime. And when we have that competition, something we don't have right now at all. Right now we have an all-you-can-eat buffet, and it's not even aimed at preventative care. It's just when there's already been a major car wreck, essentially. And so we want, what I think is, in addition to the HSA, I do support a truly catastrophic plan with a high deductible, a low premium, that covers truly catastrophic care, but also covers wellness visits. So we make sure that we don't wait until we get to a catastrophic phase before something's done about it. So that's healthcare. With respect to taxes, like I said before, I'm in favor of moving to a consumption tax model. I think the great thing about a consumption tax model, the thing that we don't have right now from our income tax returns is we don't have any indication of how our economy is doing at any given moment, because people are taking deductions and they're taking, deferring tax payments to the next year. And so we don't have any clear signal. When we move to a consumption model, not only will everybody be paying their fair share, but we will know exactly at any given time how our economy is doing, and we'll be able to use that data to tune our interest rates in much finer, calculation, not just a quarter point like we're doing now, maybe a tenth of a point or possibly even smaller. So I think there's a lot of benefits to it. As a criminal defense attorney, I've represented people who are engaged in or alleged to have been engaged in acts that their economic output is not captured, whether or not that is drug dealers or illegal aliens. And so I want everyone to be paying their fair share. I don't believe that this consumption tax should be enacted on, say, grocery store food and necessary goods, so that what this will naturally create is, if liberals want the rich to be paying their share, well, the rich are consumptive in nature, and they will be paying their share. They're not going to be going to the grocery store nearly as much, but when you're at the subsistence level, you can not participate in this tax model by subsisting at that level. And so I think that this provides a fair model that can be applied universally across the board and won't create some of the disincentives to creating wealth that we see now with an income tax model. And you said immigration. I believe that we need to enforce our immigration laws. And that's not just for people who have committed additional violent crimes or additional crimes. I do believe that in order for us to have a sovereign nation continuing going forward, we have to have people have respect for the laws, and that means even ones that certain people may say are not serious. And it is a misdemeanor crossing the border, without proper authorization. And it's a serious felony when you do it again. But the problem is not even that act itself, but it's that those people being present here in these enclaves and diasporas, they allow cover for the cartels to be able to operate and do business, commit crime here in our communities. And we also need to fix the immigration system, because I believe, much like the war on drugs has failed because we tried to attack it from supply side instead of demand, it's the same thing here. When people see an immigration system that is arbitrary, that doesn't reward those who bring talents and opportunity to this country when they come here, then they see that the best way is to cut around the line. And when we have, like Ronald Reagan, he got it wrong when he gave amnesty, and that has given a future incentive. People say maybe there will be another amnesty. We can't have amnesty. So I don't support amnesty of any kind in solving this problem. There's going to be a lot of deportations that are necessary for a very long time, going out past President Trump's term, probably into the next 1 or 2 terms to get the problem fully under control. I believe that we need to pause immigration in the meantime until we get that situation in hand and have a grip on it. We also need to do this with compassion. We need to do it while recognizing, Republicans, I believe, and Republicans often want to say that we are in a nation that's a Christian nation and a nation constituted on Christian principles. If that's true, and I believe it is, then we need to remember that when we're deporting these other children of God. It's a difficult thing to do because I think you want people to self-deport, and I do support the efforts to pay people to self-deport, and then they preserve their position in line for the future if they want to try to come back legally. So I think that's a good effort. You have to be very careful in going over the line in terms of encouraging people with the threat of deportation to self-deport. And there have been some bad looks out of immigration in the recent weeks, and to varying degrees, certainly. But if we're going to carry out that campaign, we need to maintain public trust in doing that.
And lastly, just education.
Education. I believe that education is a states' rights issue. And for me, education is about, it should be about school choice. And what I said before about free market principles, I think that applies in education too. And I think that the reason that in the instances, and there are a lot of them, that our public schools are failing our children is because it's not subjected to the free market. And if we allow it to be subjected to the free market, then it will get better. And that will be a viable option. Me, myself, I was homeschooled growing up, and my wife and I have chosen to homeschool our children. It's not because we don't want the public school system to work, it's that it's not working right now. And so I believe that the Department of Education is not the right answer at a federal level. And I always want to be making promises about things that I can affect at a federal level. I want to bring power back to the states on education. I think that any control from afar, central planning in that way, ultimately results in tyranny on the ground level. And I think that's true of education as well. And so I'd like to bring power back to the states. That means Texas is going to have to do a better job than we've been doing. It's true.
In what ways?
Well, we're 46th in terms of a lot of numbers. And that's out of step with the amount of resources that we have. I think that Governor Abbott's initiatives with respect to school choice are a step in the right direction. But I would like to see it go even further. I think that a lot of the accreditation processes associated with the requirements associated with the vouchers that are going to be issued in this case are disenfranchising a lot of good educational opportunities for people. And I want to put power back in the hands of parents who pay their property taxes. That's their money to begin with. We're just giving it back to them. And so I would like them to have full choice over that with respect to their children and where they go to school and how they get educated.
Is there anything else about your campaign that you feel like people don't know that they should know?
I I think that I try to make sure that my core animating principles of limited small government and looking at whether or not the government has authority in the first place to do that thing, whatever it is we're talking about, I try to be intellectually honest about that at all times. And I am a Republican. I've been a lifelong Republican and a conservative, and I'm a Republican because I believe that it is the best vehicle for conservative ideals and principles. And that's one of the major reasons that I'm stepping up, is I want to preserve that going forward. So that means that I don't intend to represent just the Republicans in this district, even though some candidates in this race say that we should forget the liberals. And that this can be won just on Republican votes. It is so important that we recognize that what unites us as Americans is much greater than what divides us. And it's sometimes tough to hear that in this age of social media with our own echo chambers. And so I am a uniter. I want to bring people back together. I intend to represent all the citizens, all the residents of District 21, be they independent, Democrat, or Republican.
All right. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, I'm just really grateful for the opportunity to speak to the voters, and thank you.